there are lots of poor Americans in the U.S. that have been poor their whole lives and have been working very diligently to try and not be poor. And they've gone through a lot of things. So I don't think that you meant to frame it quite the way that you said this, because the way you framed it is that, well, that the implication is that those who are immigrants went through a worse life than Americans. That's objectively not true in all situations. So I'm addressing that first, that I don't think you meant to frame it like that, but there you have it. Now let me address what I think you meant by this. We in the U.S. have some major financial problems here. And there's a lot of poor Americans that are first. They're already here. They have been here for a long time. They have been made all kinds of promises by their governments and countrymen respectively, and these mega employers and all, like they've been made all these promises. They need to be made whole first before bringing more people in here. Okay, let's also address this from a reciprocal perspective. Gavin Newsom's in the news. He wants to wave a magic wand and make all the homeless go away. You know, a lot of the homeless that he and his policies created in California over the last 50 years have created. What if America just decided, okay, let's just ship all of our poor homeless people to Mexico? What would Mexico say about that? They would be very unhappy. And they would be right to be unhappy about that, because, you know, like everybody, they say, oh, no, the countries love Americans. Point of order. No, they don't. They love rich Americans who go to their country and give them money. They don't want a bunch of poor Americans showing up there. No other country has this slogan of like, oh, give us all your poor huddled masses of Americans yearning to breathe free. You know, that's not how that works in other countries. Other countries, you know, yeah, you can go to, you know, move to Thailand and live for $38 a day kind of thing. Yeah, that works until you don't have 38 bucks a day. And then you say, okay, I need to get a job. Then they go, oh, no, you need to leave. No, you can't take jobs from our people. There's a reciprocal negotiation that goes there. And I'm a reciprocal kind of guy. And when I call it like I see it. And when I see other countries, they're not exactly sending us their rich people, are they? No, it's the people that you're mentioning right here in the way you framed this. It's like, oh, well, it's the people that are, you know, the poor folks that should be fixing their countries. They should be trying to fix their countries. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't make any excuses. I'm not an apologist for the U.S. on this. I realize the U.S. dollar and the bankers that own all the politicians have done a lot of damage all over the world. That's true. But that's not the fault of the average American, the poor Americans who really have no power and have been disenfranchised by every political party out there, including the loser-tardians. Actually, almost especially the loser-tardians at this point. So, yeah, I mean, we have to deal with those problems first. And there's a number of Americans, I would say probably right now, by my reckoning, probably about 70% of Americans right now want the U.S. to collapse. They want the dollar. They don't, you know, they want the U.S., the dollar, the government. They want all of this stuff to collapse. And they're not going to get that if they keep importing more cheap labor from other countries that are just propping this up. I really think that there's a lot of folks out there that don't understand when I explain this stuff, how this works. The dollar would have collapsed probably 10 years ago. It would have. The U.S. government would have collapsed like 10 years ago. That's why they opened the borders up and flooded the country with a bunch of people, a bunch of illegals and H-1Bs. They keep propping this up because Americans won't work for those low wages because they can't do anything with those wages in the U.S. It's different for someone who moves here and says, okay, I'm just going to send all my money back to some other country where it has more relative spending power. It's what started this whole tariff war to begin with, right? Is because every country is devaluing their currency at different rates. So, yeah, I mean, Americans need to have a market correction. A massive market correction is in order and long overdue. And just importing more and more people is not, it's not helping that. It's making it worse. You're just torturing Americans, which is why more and more Americans are getting progressively more and more angry with immigration. And it's not going to go well, by the way, just so you know, it's not going to go well. Unfortunately, when this, the longer this goes, right, just the longer you spin the rubber band, right, eventually the more violent the snapback. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Sooner or later, there's going to be people that are going to be pissed off enough to say, that's it. We're done. And so by me telling all of this and saying, dude, no more immigration, shut the fucking borders, deport all these goddamn people. I'm saying that for your own health and safety. You understand? I'm trying to the U.S. needs to collapse. The U.S. dollar needs to collapse wholesale, completely, and gone. Then the U.S. needs to fix itself. That'll take about a year, realistically, about a year. If you have decent leadership, about a year. Not the idiots you got now. Like, none of those guys don't know. Any kind of decent leadership, take about a year to fix all this stuff. Then you can open the borders up again, and you can allow in people who want to assimilate, people who want to become Americans, not hyphenated Americans, Americans. So, yeah, I mean, I hope I answered that pretty thoroughly, but like, dude, it is a major problem. And yes, just bringing more and more people in from other countries is not helping. It's making it much worse. I haven't even touched on the cultural aspect of that. We're not even talking about that. Multiculturalism, which is basically multi-legal. We're not even talking about any of those issues. Dude, that's a whole different set of videos to even talk about that. This is just the financial side of it. It is torturing Americans by doing this. All of the mega companies need to collapse. They keep paying these ridiculous low wages. They have to collapse so that way the Americans can buy up all those assets themselves and open up small businesses. It's much easier that way. Governments and bankers don't want small businesses. They want a handful of big companies they can control. They don't want millions of tiny small businesses, which is what you want. You want tons and tons and tons of small businesses. That's how you actually have a real economy.